President Trump continues to look for the off ramp while Iran continues to laugh in his face. And yeah, apparently negotiations are going on. Even Iran is now admitting it. Trump is, uh, going into his thing he does, where he talks shit about people and then praises them. And yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, he praised Iran for giving a gift to the US. The gift, it turns out, was allowing 10 oil tankers to get through the Strait of Hormuz. Those were Pakistani oil tankers. So, how it's a gift to the US, I'm sure in Trump's mind, is also not clear, actually. But it is what it is. This is the situation we're in, and yeah, it really looks like Trump is going to insist on this. At least that it looks like in Israel, the assumption is that Trump is going to insist on um, stopping the war. He's had enough, and I don't know if anybody in his circle. I mean, we saw what kind of people are in his circle with Joe Kent, with David Sachs. It's not the best, certainly not the best morally, and not the brightest in many cases. And in some cases, people who really are sinister and have really bad intentions and would love to see the downfall of the United States, especially if it means the downfall of Israel as well. Um, so yeah, this is where we're at the moment. A reminder of what this means. Yeah, if the U.S. decides now, when it is essentially has not completed the job, and the Iranian regime is still in power and still controlling the Strait of Hormuz, and blocking it, decides not to act, um, and to back off, that is a victory for Iran in the eyes of anyone, including the Iranian people who might still take to the streets and try to remove the regime, but might not, and maybe not as many of them will. And certainly, if Trump does a deal with this regime that he said at some point we're going to tell the Iranian people to take to the streets and take down that regime. If he then does a deal with them, that is bad news all around. Even the Gulf states, the viewers of this channel know I'm not a fan of. I don't think we should really consider what they say. I don't consider them legitimate countries. Uh, they are pushing for Trump not to do this, and yeah, all his actual allies are well, his one actual ally and his supposed allies in the region are explaining to him what this means to at least some extent. I think they're explaining it. He tweeted today against NATO, so he understands also that his historical partners supposedly aren't actually partners, but it looks like he's going in the direction that only they would favor, they and Iran. So yeah, let's see where this goes. And of course, nobody wants to see the U.S. fail more than China, because for China there was concern about what might happen when they decide to take Taiwan by force, and there will be no concern if Trump pulls out because oil prices are a bit too high. There will be no concern on China's part. China will know it can take Taiwan without any concern, and can do it whenever they want.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to these negotiations, again, we don't really know what's happening. Iran is saying they're not happening, although reportedly they rejected Americans' 15-point offer. Rosa, did you just turn on the chat to show up?
What did I do?
I'll tell you later.
I was trying to message you to mute yourself when you're typing,
Oh, sure.
but I don't think that was achieved.
Well, yeah, because now you said it. Sorry, what I was saying, like, we don't know what's really happening. On one side, Trump says he's negotiating something. Iran says they are not negotiating anything. Trump says they gave them a 15-point deal. Iran says we are not getting any deal, and also we reject this deal. So I don't know. Are there two different administrations in Iran? One that is talking, and two that we are talking to. Um, maybe, maybe not. Again, if we can find maybe somebody in the military to overthrow the whole regime and make some sort of deal with them, that might be preferable, especially if we can force them into eliminating the threat that we want. That could be it. Maybe this is some rules. I don't know why you need the rules. You can just go and attack Iran. You are already at war. You don't need any excuses to do so. Um, so all in all, it's annoying. Uh, on February 28th, we should have had Trump give a official speech to Congress and to the people saying why we are at this war, saying what the goals of the war are, and then simply go and achieve that. No need for justification later. You've already said it. You don't need to justify yourself every single day of the week, every single sentence almost of his speech. It's pretty easy. Also, if people are wondering what's with my lighting, this is what happens when you screw up your camera setup and you don't have Allen branch to actually fix it. So until I find an Allen branch, the light is
I'm
going
also wondering what's happening with the audio, which sounds very low to me. Um, But anyway, yeah, I have a few more updates and actually something in this context. But I want to first thank Robert Naser for being a member of our YouTube channel for 47 months. Robert says the problem with our president and the only explanation for current events is that he's acting like Donald Trump. Yes. And look, that also is unfortunately an explanation for why he did the right thing, not realizing, of course, that it is the right thing. Otherwise, he would keep doing the right thing and not do the absolute worst thing you can do, which is negotiate with a regime that he, at least rhetorically, he talks about them in a correct way when he doesn't say how you know how nice they are to him when they negotiate. So yeah, it's a shame that he's doing what he's doing. It could, of course, still be that he's not actually planning to, that it just like looks like it. And again, he did negotiate before. We have different theories about whether it was a real negotiation or whether he was just waiting to get troops to the area. We know that more troops are on the way to the area. Marines are on their way. There will be there will be forces for a ground operation if that is what Trump decides to do. So so yeah, the and the war continues. Like the possibilities are still there, and Israel, of course, is trying to do as much as it can. Interestingly, Russia has not been denying that they are supplying or about to supply Iran with drones and maybe deadlier drones. And Zelensky claims that this is a form of blackmail, that Russia is basically saying, you don't want us to do this, stop supporting Ukraine. Now, Trump being a deal maker might take that deal. But hopefully, he will realize that exactly means that America should not just double down, finish the job when it comes to Iran, but also realize that Ukraine is America's ally in the war, and more importantly than Ukraine. Again, that war is less about Ukraine and more about Russia and the threat that Russia is. Realize the problem with China, and again, we bring this up a lot, that the whole idea that uh, Trump's policy is whatever the last person who spoke to him suggested. Hopefully, the last person will be somebody reasonable or semi-reasonable, because yeah, we're still in the dark. We're gonna keep watching what's going on, but there's reason for concern.
how is my sound now?
The same.
Okay, that's good because I did change it. All right, how is it now?
It's manageable, and it could be just on my end. And I'm
Well,
still getting used to what's going on here with StreamYard.
uh, shouldn't be going on that much. Um, so yeah, I mean, just to put it into full context, as we've said, Israel has extended the sort of national emergency until April 15th, until the middle of April. So at least they are thinking about going in for at least 3 weeks. When it comes to Trump, of course, he does have 1 month, about 1 month or so left to inform Congress, or rather to ask permission from Congress for further actions in Iran. That's going to be a question of what exactly will he try to do, or if he will try to, say, I'm not doing anything here. I don't need any permission to do anything here. Uh, which I'm fearing he might be able to get away with, but I'm hoping that might not be it, because I'm hoping Congress will at least impose not any limits necessarily, but actual objectives that we can hold ourselves to, or at least think about when it comes to dealing with this war. Because again, I can understand the broad goal of it, of what the goal is, but when it comes to listening to Trump, I don't really know what is an actual goal that he is going for.
Okay, couple of other updates. So Israel continues to be bombarded from Iran. There was a lot in the morning from Iran, and one of the reasons was apparently that there was just bad weather in Iran with heavy fog, and the IDF drones couldn't spot the launchers, and yeah, that could have been the reason for the extra launches today. But there's also nonstop fire from Hezbollah in the north of Israel. The north is under constant and serious bombardment. One person was killed today, one was critically injured, and Israel, the IDF is reportedly expanding operations in Lebanon, but clearly not expanding operations enough. And I don't know if they're operating, it doesn't look at least like they're operating on the assumption that whatever deal Trump might do with Iran will include Hezbollah. A few days ago, there was a ballistic missile that hit Beirut from Iran, and I first heard that, and I'm like, how do you miss by that much? And it turns out it wasn't. They didn't miss. They didn't miss. Lebanon kicked out the Iranian ambassador, and Iran in return fired one ballistic missile to Beirut. But yeah, for the Lebanese government, much like the Qatari government, much like other countries, their hatred of the Jews is much greater than any love they may have, and it's probably none, to their own citizens. So I don't think they care when they get bombed. They definitely don't care as much as, if this country is bombing Israel and they're also bombing us, we'll take it as long as they keep bombing Israel. So I think that's going to be we'll see. Lebanon, like I've said on this show many times, Lebanon should be considered, should be treated as one entity, including Hezbollah, and therefore anything in Israel that gives any part of Lebanon south of the Litani back to Lebanese hands should be completely unacceptable to Israel. Israel should stay there for a generation, and should operate north of the Litani whenever needed. And right now, it's needed. So yeah, uh, let's hope. Let's hope that Israel, at the very least, can continue that operation if Trump does the disastrous thing he's threatening to do with with Iran. Daniel, any additional thoughts before we go back to the video we started yesterday and promise to go through the whole thing? And that will be most of what we do today. This will be a shorter stream than usual. We're not cutting them back down to size. We're doing a shorter stream today so we can do longer streams in the coming days and do some of the work that we haven't gotten around to because we're live so many hours. But yeah, any additional thoughts?
How about we do £50 super chat goal for removing of ads?
That sounds fair, considering it's a you know what, because it is going to be a shorter stream. I mean, by shorter, I still expect us to go longer today than a daily objective plus reality show.
Probably like 2 hours, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I expect us to go at least 2 hours, if not more. And I'll throw in my blackjack thing that I promised a few days ago. I'll remind people or people who weren't here. Yeah, if we get to that 50-pound goal, we'll remove the ads, and I will explain why counting cards is not actually a thing. It's a thing, but it's not a thing that's doable. It is proof of the Crow epistemology. And if you think you are going to become a professional blackjack player and make lots of money that way, it's not going to happen. Blackjack, like you can get lucky, but you can also get unlucky, and you absolutely can't think of counting cards as a strategy for life, unless except very, very extreme situations, which include having at least a year of your life full time dedicated to just learning it, and if you are of extremely high intelligence. Thank you, Bonnie, for the super sticker. All right. Speaking of people who think they're of extremely high intelligence, let's go back to Avrum Burg on Tucker Carlson. So just a reminder, Avrum Burg is the former speaker of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. Israel has one house of parliament. He was the speaker of that house, and he was a speaker from the Labor Party when later on in life, I can't remember if this was after he retired from politics or not, he moved to Meretz, the more left-wing post-Zionist party, and then to Hadash, the Arab anti-Zionist party that has some token Jews. And I'm not saying that as kind of an insult to them. They literally have token Jews, like in their list, they have spots for Jews. And I believe the highest is either third or fourth. Historically, it was third. Now it may be fourth. So yeah, with that intro, let's hear more of the philosopher king of Avrum Burg talking to Tucker Carlson, of all people. Let's hear it.
The only thing I will say is that I hope that the attention of the prime minister is given to that also.
Yes.
That's the only hope I have. I trust him. My trust is very minimal. And this is in a very good day. I hope that he understands if something like that happens in his shift, it's bigger than him.
Yes.
And I hope he pays attention to it.
I feel the same way about him, but I agree with you.
Daniel, do you remember, are they still talking about the blowing up of the Temple Mount or whatever?
That was a long time ago. That was like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, so what is he concerned about here that Netanyahu is doing? And by the way, having Tucker Carlson say...
no, wait, sorry. That was like a little bit ago, so they might be still talking about that. Basically, we just ended the chapter, the many attempts to rebuild the third temple, and we are moving on how Netanyahu has changed politics forever.
Okay, so yeah, and if in anything that you say, Tucker says, I feel the same way, that should be a cause for concern. But for people who missed the 4.5 hours that we did yesterday on the first hour of this, almost the entire show was about this. That was the conversation. That was the first hour of the conversation. Avrum Burg said to him at some point that he can't stand him. But other than that, it was all agreement, and anything that Tucker said to Boog answered as would be not even expected, but desired. If you want to move your audience further into anti-Semitism, then they already are. And this is Tucker Carlson's audience, so I don't know how much further there is to go into anti-Semitism.
I don't see why he would want this.
Here we go to something else. Netanyahu is a well-read person. He's not an analphabet. He reads books. He understands. Yes. He knows. He has a vision. You can agree with him. You can disagree with him. But at least he's an interesting partner.
Yes.
He knows what he's talking about. Okay. What happens to him in the last couple of years is that he does not behave politically according to his wisdom. He behaves according to his political survival instinct rather than according to his ideology and philosophy. So between political survival or conservative right-wing, decent right-wing conservatism, if he was the right-wing conservative, I would say, I will oppose you, but I respect you.
Yes.
The minute it's the personal survival instinct only, I don't accept it and I don't respect it and I suspect it. And the fact that in his cabinet, there are so many influential ministers who promote this agenda and create daily provocation around the mosques troubles me. I take you a step further. How many times did you in your analysis say, listen, there are so many fanatics in politics, etc., but the Israeli army is a moderate one. They're usually the sound of reason. Okay, this is the perception we have. But pay attention. Most of the generals and the high up officers of today are people who were brought up, educated, shaped, and molded at the previous times of Israel, under Rabin, under Peres, under Menachem Begin, even under Ariel Sharon, in a much more responsible country. The people who climb up now the ladder, the military ladder, are different kind of people who were brought up under the chaotic, problematic value system of Netanyahu.
Okay, wait. Okay. So the military leaders of yesteryear in Israel were brought up under the delusion of Oslo, which we've talked about a lot on this channel and a lot yesterday specifically. But yeah, and to some extent, you see that, and Netanyahu is absolutely responsible because he continued the Oslo process when he took over in '96, and he didn't really change the general way of thinking in however many, nearly 20 years he's been in power this time around, with that short break in the middle. Let's remember also what the left has been for at least the past decade. The left in Israel, or the opposition in Israel, have very little ideology. I mean, Vumburg has ideology. The left has ideology, but the viable opposition does not. They are anti-Bibi. That is their entire political agenda, and has been, and was the reason why Israel had 5 elections in 3 years, which was unprecedented. I mean, Israel, the system always requires there to be a coalition, but it has never been that unstable. And the reason for the instability is because the anti-Bibi sentiment was not strong enough to have anybody else elected, for the most part, but strong enough to for politicians to say, okay, my way of getting votes and my way of getting votes for my party over other anti-Netanyahu parties is to be more anti-Netanyahu, to be clearer on the whole, under no circumstances will I sit with Netanyahu. I mean, Avigdor Lieberman, who was at some point Netanyahu's chief of staff in the 90s, and then later was minister in all sorts of governments. This was his principled stance that caused election after election, among others. He pretends to be a right winger. I don't know if he still does, but historically he does. And so it was him and others like him that are the cause of that. So when Burg talks about the ministers in Netanyahu's cabinet or this or that, well, all the others won't sit with him because they treat Netanyahu as if he is worse than the Iranian regime. And you can see Burg is also clearly of that position. So yeah, that context is important here when talking about Netanyahu and his position, role, and possibilities within the Israeli political spectrum.
I don't know as much about Israeli internal politics to really comment on sort of Netanyahu and the sort of subsequent elections in the last few, years or decades. So I'll go by the Israeli comedian. He is a prime minister. I don't know how to do Hebrew accent. He is a prime minister because he speaks English. That's basically how he became one.
Well, I do want to address what Akira is saying. They hate Netanyahu to the extent he's good. Imagine hating him for his virtues and not his sins. Maybe that's true the further left you go, but in the center left or the center right, like that are sort of opposition. Again, Lieberman considered himself to the right of the Likud historically. Naftali Bennett considered himself to the right of the Likud historically. I don't even know if they hate Netanyahu so much as they just see him as the person you want to go against if you want to get votes. So it's not just that. Look, the judicial reform that Netanyahu's government tried to pass was a bad idea. The left opposed it with ideas that were, I would say, just as bad, which is what Israel has now, which requires judicial reform, but not the type that the type that Netanyahu suggested was. I'm not going to say if it's worse or not.
I think I can explain it a little bit to the extent I watched it. Basically, the big problem. Yeah, I'd say a big problem of the current judicial system, or rather the judicial review of Israel when it comes to the Supreme Court, is that the way Supreme Court currently gets picked is, I could look up specifically, but to large extent it's people from inside the system who are either people from inside the Supreme Court or the different sort of law schools or people in the law system that are picking them. Netanyahu's idea was to basically fully politicize the system, make it fully political that Supreme Court is picked by Knesset, which again, my big problem was Israel already doesn't have a separation between executive and legislature. Making no separation between legislature on top of that would make an incredibly, I think, authoritarian aligned system where pretty much one election or one people that gets elected, this gets to decide a lot of power that happens in the country. Now, the current system is also not good because you have the sort of, you could call it like entrenched elite or like the old guard, basically enforcing the system they want, and there is too little political control from that perspective, could be said. So but again, Israel has a lot of problems and it's not ideal, but oftentimes the solutions from both sides are basically for full political control, right? The left kind of likes the current system because in a sense the old guard is leftist.
Yeah, and it will be leftist forever under the current system and under the future system. That's the thing that always baffled me about these protests. Well, it didn't baffle me because I understand that people use slogans. not necessarily in thinking that they mean what they are supposed to mean, but people were chanting democracy, democracy in those protests, and the proposed reform would make the system more democratic, and that's the problem. By the way, that is the problem. It means the people who happen to get elected have even more power than they already have, instead of limiting their power and limiting the power of the courts. But that is a conversation for a different day. And again, nobody proposed that. Nobody said, "Hang on, let's." Both sides are wrong here, because who's going to say that? The people who are anti-Netanyahu will not support anything Netanyahu does unless there's no way of, unless it's so obviously right, like this current military operation. The people who support Netanyahu also dig their heels in. They feel attacked. I mean, I've said I get, when I watch Israeli news on television, it's channel 14, which is sort of right wing and religious and so pro Netanyahu. It's I can only stomach it because I know what the alternatives are in Israeli media. But yeah, I'm constantly amazed at how much bad stuff they will support just because it's Netanyahu, whereas the other side will oppose things just because it's Netanyahu.
Settlements, educated with this kind of messianic mission to use the army as a tool to accelerate redemption. And a day will come that you will see a chief of staff with this kind of agenda. You already have the head of the Shin Bet of our secret service coming from these circles. So to trust the Israeli army to be the moderator for good might be a mistake. Pay attention.
Things have changed so fast there. I mean, from an outsider's perspective, it's just a very different country from what it was even 15 years ago. That's how it feels to me.
It is right. And in order to understand the shift, I will say as follows. When was your first time here in the region?
25 years ago.
Make me the 2000?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. 2000 was the end of the tale of secular Israel. Israel of 48 was, as Bernie Sanders called it, socialist.
Okay. Let me tell you what happened in 2000, or to be more precise, early February 2001. The Labor Party lost an election, a prime ministerial election, which was a weird thing that existed in Israel for 3 election cycles. The Labor prime minister lost, and Labor has never been in power since. That's where secular Israel died. But remember, in the first 29 years of Israel, Labor was in power for the whole time, and the religious right-wing party that Wumburg's dad was one of the leaders of was always, or almost always, in coalition with them. I think they maybe left over, I don't remember. At some point, I think they left in protest of something. But this was, this was part of the deal at all times. And by the way, there was a short period of time since 2001 where there was a coalition where there was no religious parties at all, but Labor wasn't in power, so and it wasn't the left; it was the center right, supposedly. So that doesn't count as far as Bulg is concerned. But his revisionist history is, of course, more on brand than him actually telling the truth. Quickly, Akira says, didn't the protests lead to Palestinians feeling emboldened and committing October 7th? I don't know if that was part of it. I don't necessarily think so. I think, but yeah, it has been speculated that this kind of made them, because part of the protest, like there were people who said, if this, as long as you're trying to push this, if war breaks out, we're not gonna join, like reserve soldiers, and of course everybody did join after October 7th. The whole thing was dropped, the protest, at least for a while, but the Palestinians maybe believed that and thought they have a great chance there. Akira also says the Israeli politician you debated was better than Netanyahu. Do you think he has a chance to inspire the Israeli people? He is terrible. He's a horrible religious nut job. And I still would consider voting for him because of how bad the options are. But no, I don't know. First of all, he's not going to inspire enough people to even get into the Knesset. You need a minimum of 4 seats out of the 120. I would be very surprised if he gets that. Maybe he can inspire enough people to actually vote for him so that he does get into parliament, but there's no chance of him being prime minister. He's been trying for what 20 plus years. Yeah, I don't see it happening, and I also don't see people in Israel actually saying, you know what, the problem with Netanyahu is he doesn't go all the way, doesn't recognize the threat, doesn't recognize that's not part of the conversation in Israel, except on some fringe element of the so-called right. Bonnie, his name was Moshe Feiglin. I debated him or had him on the show twice. Neither of them is exactly my finest performance. He does know what he's doing when it comes to debates, but yeah, you see the religiousness pouring out of him, and up until that point in the second conversation, when I actually challenged him on something, and he kind of admitted that God isn't real. That wasn't his exact words, but that's how I read it.
Hey, at least you weren't debating plastic bags. What I would say about again, this thing, like when he says like 2000s were the end of like secular Israel, it's like saying 93 was the end of like secular Czechoslovakia. Yeah, because there was a revolution that overthrew a communist regime and free market reforms were implemented. And the rise of the right in Israel, I would view similarly as well. The unfortunate part in most of the Western world is you have two choices. You pick the religious nuts that for some reason are free market and economically liberal, or you pick the socialists who for some reason like some individual liberties of people, or have respect for secularism. That is unfortunately what your choice is in most countries, for the most part, almost always. And that is the choice that Israel had. Do you want to keep going the socialist route, or do you want to actually go a free market route? But that means you have to appease the religious, basically the religious nuts. Because that's what my understanding of the parties like Shas in Israel are. Basically, give us our welfare and do whatever you want with the rest of it. Like, you want economic liberties? Sure, whatever. We don't care about that. That's basically what it is. It's unfortunate, but again, I would say that's the fault of socialism. Like, what do socialists prefer more? Do they want a secular Israel, or do they want a socialist Israel? They want a socialist Israel much more. They want a secular Israel, so they would rather allow Netanyahu to go with the religious people so he can do at least some economic reforms. And again, we are talking about like 2000s. Well, which wasn't Netanyahu from the start, but he was a finance minister, but eventually into Netanyahu as a prime minister. So yeah, that is unfortunate. Like we have it the same with Slovakia, right? Like I mentioned, the revolution. Without the Christians, or without the religious aspect of large parts of the revolution, it might have not happened. It was an important part. The sort of Christian dissenters were an important part of the Czechoslovak revolution. And they also played an important role in both Czechia and Slovakia, when it came to the post-revolution process of transitioning into market economy. That's the unfortunate part. I wish it wouldn't. I wish we just had like one party that was, something like Moshe Feiglin, but he forgot about God or something, and he gets 90 seats or 100 seats, and that's all we have to deal with. But no, it's a coalition type of government, or it's a parliamentary republic. You have to deal with many different interest groups and appease those.
But let's call it European-wise, social and democratic. A very young democracy, but with a prospect to move on for a better, more developed democracy, and very secular. Israel of today is democracy in deficit in a good day, harsh capitalist to the level of libertarian anarchy almost sometimes.
Okay. Libertarian anarchy, harsh capital. This is the problem. This is the problem when you're sort of an ideologue, but of an ideology that can't be argued for, trying to argue against ideas that can't really rationally be argued against. You have to kind of you have to use overly hyperbolic language. Yeah, Israel has a welfare state, has unfortunately very high taxation, is very similar to Europe and the US in every way economically. But Akira mentioned even before this came up, Yaron said that Netanyahu did well as finance minister the last time he did any good until the last couple of years. Saying Netanyahu did well as finance minister is an understatement. Netanyahu took a country that was done economically because Silvan Shalom, his predecessor from the same government and the same party, was so bad, and it was just amazing that Netanyahu came in and in 2 years or less than 2 years transformed it completely. I mean, really, and you still see the results of that today. You saw the result of that in 2008, where the world was collapsing economically and Israel kind of did fine. And you saw that, in recent times with lockdowns, Israel kind of did better than others, and even at war. I mean, I'm looking now at the Israeli shekel, and it's so strong compared to where I remember it being, versus the pound and the dollar. So,
which I would even say, like, Israeli shekel is so strong, I think it's almost damaging to Israel. Because, like, tourism sucks in Israel. Like, things are expensive. Like, when I went there, everything seems like stuff is cheaper in America because of how weak the dollar is, or has been for some time. That, like, when I go into America, it's like everything is on a bargain. When I went to Israel, I only went once. That was like, at some point I just stopped spending because it was way too much.
Yeah.
And it's even stronger now, so I cannot even imagine going there now.
Yeah. I remember we were with Jonathan on this show, and we were talking about, not on this show, but on its predecessor, the Daily Objective or the reality show, where we talked about the anti-Semitic politician in Florida running for government, Fishback, and Fishback was saying, why are we invested in Israeli bonds? They're giving a lower return than American bonds. It's just money for Israel or something. And Jonathan pointed out that, percentage-wise, this was like 0.5% and the other was 0.6. I don't remember the numbers, but something like that. Daniel will maybe find out. But also the shekel, it was 18% stronger. So you're getting essentially a fifth of your money back in a year, or a fifth return on investment, which is insanely good. But so the problem Fishback actually has is that even though you're getting better return that you would get almost anywhere, you're getting it from Israel, and that was the problem there. Anyway, thank you, Roland, for the super chat. Roland says, some hard currency for the harsh capitalists. I'm wondering what we are. If Israel is so beyond capitalism, that it's libertarian. By the way, Daniel, I want you to rewind a few seconds because I want to hear that part again. But so, yeah, what are we if that's Israel? And anyway, yeah, thank you, Pink Bunny Law, for the super chat. Pink Bunny Law says, I like Anat Wilf. Berg is has Finkelstein style talking. Yeah, this was brought up yesterday as well. He does speak faster, but not much faster, and he has that condescending sort of attitude. But yeah, I think he's way more intelligent than Finkelstein. No, let us know what you
What
think.
did you say? More?
I think he's more intelligent. Then again, it could be that I'm just buying into the bullshit of somebody talking like a philosopher king, and maybe, yeah, that's how they get you. So I might take that back. It's no. Also, Finkelstein is not.
The worst
super-
part is I don't know how I don't know if he is like a troll on purpose, or if he is just like, if he actually is like he showed himself in every interview, I don't think he is intelligent. If he, for some reason, that's just a persona he plays, because that gets more views or more clicks or get more people interested, then I would say then I wouldn't know, because I don't really know if there is like a real Finkelstein or if this is actually him.
Well,
By the way, somebody says Dubai is the closest to capitalist system that exists, though not perfect. Again, a reminder that capitalism is not just economic freedom. Capitalism is a social system that recognizes the individual rights of its own people. That includes judicial system. That includes the respect for other rights than property rights, which again I wouldn't put Dubai or UAE there, really. And even if you go by any indexes, it's not UAE. Although even when with indexes, I'm not necessarily sure I would go with them fully. I do like Switzerland. Somebody says Switzerland's pretty good.
yeah, also, I wanted to address Pink Bunny Law's comment on Anat Vilf. Yeah, from what I've seen, she is good. I basically, if I end up voting in the next election, which is a possibility, it'll be one of those two. And yeah, I will have to decide what bothers me more. Feigelin's devotion to his imaginary friend, or Wilf's devotion to socialism. And what's going to be more important than either of those is who is actually going to acknowledge that this war needs to be won, and needs to be won by going full force against anybody who wants to exterminate Israel, whether they're in Gaza and take selfies that make them look like they're victims, or whether they're in Iran and shoot hypersonic ballistic missiles. So yeah, that's what I would vote on if I was Israeli. I would love to have, I'm not going to say libertarian, anarchist, whatever, but probably what something that Bull would be incapable of defining if Israel is libertarian, anarchist. But we're not going to have somebody who's pro free market, pro national security, and because Israel is in the most lifeboat of lifeboat situations, yeah, I think Israelis should vote for whoever is going to recognize that they're at war and then win the war. Thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, did you see how Cenk lost it on Piers Morgan? He began to scream like a madman. Was this the recent one? Because we had Cenk screaming like a madman.
Well,
before.
I have a video from Piers, but we might leave it for another day. Because, but yeah, I think the one that he screamed was, yeah, I think I have.
I can prove it!
Cenk.
I can prove it!
Yeah, that one we saw. But he was on yesterday. I think
yeah.
I saw him on the thumbnail yesterday with Naftali Bennett and some other people. Yeah, we might watch that.
I would assume it wasn't an actual panel with Naftali Bennett. I think Naftali Bennett was probably a one-on-one conversation. But I have like a 5-minute segment of Piers Morgan and Cenk Uygur.
Okay, I do think when we're done with this, I want to show the Marco Rubio video from a decade ago. We may have already shown it, but it doesn't matter. This is the time, and hopefully Trump will be watching when we show that.
Somebody's
Solomon says,
asking.
yeah.
No, you go.
Solomon says Cenk is going to have a stroke on air. I think that's part of the reason why they get such high views, is people are wondering, is today going to be the day?
They wouldn't publish that. There's no way.
But the Young Turks are live. It could happen on the Young Turks.
On TYT maybe. Even that, I would assume they are running at a delay for something like this.
Oh yeah, that's possible. Or for something Anna might say that the culture has not moved to that point yet, because she's trying to help it move there. Moody says, "Does your perfect capitalist system have any social safety net at all? Not one that involves force, but you can get together with people and create your own safety net as long as no force is used." And we are now joined by Alex. Alex, I know the very thought of us talking about Avrum Burg without you was it's offensive, and we did it for 4 hours yesterday. But I'm glad that you're joining us to bring it home with the last 20-something minutes.
Well, what can I say with these people? It's kind of hard, really. When was he on the scene? I can't quite remember. When was he, like, they said that he was, they said that, what was he, the interim prime minister for 5.5 minutes in like 1995?
Interim president, and I don't know when he was interim. I'm guessing, I didn't even look it up. I'm guessing this was when Moshe Katsav had to give up his role because he was a rapist, and that was frowned upon, so he had to move on, and they didn't yet have a new.
But I thought Israel doesn't prosecute sex offenders, Razi.
Well,
I mean, that's what Tucker says. That's what.
Well, pedophiles.
That's so interesting. So there's a pedophile, quite a famous one, female pedophile, in the Haredi, in the Haredi community, and she committed all of her offenses in Australia and then came to Israel. And then she was not accused of any crimes when she came to Israel. And then her victims then became women, and they decided that they wanted to go and speak out about the horrors that happened to them. And surprise, surprise, what happened? Israel had an extradition trial. She was extradited, and now she's sitting in prison in Australia. Okay, a serial, child rapist. Because that's what we do. In fact, in order to immigrate to Israel, they ask you on the forms if you have any pending civil or criminal trials, if you're involved in any type of litigation or any type of anything in the court system. You can't come, even if you're suing your former employer.
But you're assuming that in the 25 minutes or so we have left of this interview, Burg isn't going to tell Tucker that, and Tucker isn't going to go, "Oh, oopsie, sorry then. I didn't know that, so I take it all back." Also, before we continue, Pink Bunny Law says that Vilf changed her position away from socialism and understands the Palestinian problem. Yeah, I agree. She seems to understand the Palestinian problem better than anybody other than maybe Feiglin, and his religious nutjobness worries me. But anyway, I will, if I do go to vote, I will look closer at both of them.
But Alex, what about Jonathan Pollard? Where is he now, huh?
He is. I see him about 3 times a day. No joke. I see him wandering around. What, is he getting involved in politics?
No, but he was a spy for Israel, and now he lives in Israel and he didn't get any punishment for being a spy for Israel.
Okay, listen, I think the situation with Jonathan Pollard is complicated. I think that he is a very duplicitous character. I don't believe his story even slightly. I think that he was an economic opportunist, and kol hakavod to the Mossad for them. The way that they, I don't know, the way that they massaged his ego, and they spoke to every single kind of, you know, sense of self-righteousness that he had, told him he was, you know, you're as important as Eli Cohen. They schmoozed the shit out of him. And, you know, he then was taking suitcases of evidence. I mean, the whole story is kind of comical, really. He kind of reminds me of Edward Snowden in a way. However, he
for a second I thought you are talking about Edward Snowden.
No, I know, but like because it's the same tactic. Happy people don't betray their country. You know, happy people who are in happy places. It's people who have grievances and people who have heightened senses of self-importance and economic problems, debt. And it has to be. So anybody who says it's ideological, of course you can develop some ideological gobbledygook after the fact, no problem, right? But he's not Gordievsky. But that doesn't detract from the fact that he served his time. His punishment was far exceeded. I think he was singled out because he was Jewish, right? And I think that's appalling. And I think that that's really the end of it. Truly, like that's the end of the story. He's a man that made a mistake. He's a criminal as far as I'm concerned. He is a traitor. And what more can you say, really? And I feel very sorry for him for all of the time that he spent in jail that was gratuitous, I think. Two things can be true at the same time.
Russian spies don't spend nearly as much time in prison in the U.S. as Pollard did, and it is easier to do when it's Israel than when it's a country like Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in Russia, they had I can't remember his surname, but there was recently a spy that was caught who was part of the whole kind of Havana syndrome thing. And the FBI, he served like a year and a half, and then the FBI said to him, dude, don't go back to Russia. Please don't go back. They're going to torture you. You're not going to make it out. And what happened? He was sent to the front line in Ukraine, dead. So in Russia, you don't even get like, you don't even get treated like a human being.
All right. Should we watch more of Avrumbog?
Is democracy in deficit in a good day? Harsh capitalist to the level of libertarian anarchy almost sometimes, and very religious. So Israel of 2026 is not Israel of 48, not Israel of 67, and not Israel of 2000s. Different society, different leadership, different rhetorics, different ethos and pathos. And the real struggle today between the political forces, yes, it's very personal. My personality, your personality, my leader, your leader. Okay, that's granted. We have it in every political system. Imagine politics with no ego. So boring. Okay, God forbid. So thank God we have some ego left. But the undercurrent is the warming Cold War between religion and politics, between the Jewish and the democratic. That's the real deep struggle. Will Israel, by the end of the road, will be Jewish religious, that their religion is defined by this kind of people? Or will it be back a kind of a liberal democracy? And let's not argue now what is the definition of this liberal democracy, but much more secular in its thinking, and therefore speaks with the language of reason. And this is the real political struggle in Israel today. I'm hopeful, by the way. As difficult as it is, the pendulum will come back. But we have to understand what the fight is all about.
Do you think, given
I don't know. Look, as I've said, I've spent more time than I care to admit when I was younger in kibbutzes, and this guy, you know, just everything about him feels like a kibbutz person. He's fully bought into the socialism. He joined the Communist Party. That's the last that I've seen from him in terms of like party affiliation. Yeah, Alex, what do you make of Avumbo just as a
yeah, I mean, I do think it's interesting that that the Shabak is doing a massive currently doing a massive recruitment to the counterintelligence department specifically for Russian speakers, and that's been going on for a couple of years, really to understand the kind of subversive influence that is occurring through the Russian-speaking population and outwards, and it's quite fascinating to see him in a way, because if you ever watch Russia Today, if you ever watch their sort of hour-long specials that they do about Israel and about Israeli society and about how the different kind of fragmentation and this and that, he's kind of reciting all of their talking points. In fact, I have to question that because it is really a talk track, okay, at this point. And in terms of the substance of what he said, I think this entire thing is really blown out of proportion. I mean, you go to Tel Aviv, you have a gay bar on every corner. And you go to Jerusalem and you have, yeshivot on every corner. But even in Jerusalem, you also have gay bars and you have parties all night and whatever. I don't think that there is this, even amongst the Haredim, you have existential struggles between different people about the way that they want to take things. This kind of is the Jewish way to discuss passionately and argue. But I think that, this has always been this kind of presented as this existential struggle that I'm not sure really exists. Remember, they used to always say, oh, the Haredim have so many children and the seculars don't have enough. And then what happens? The secular people are having, 3.1 and the Haredim are having 4.5 because the demographics are changing. So this idea that we're headed towards this future of blah, 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 blah. Okay. You're the one telling me that. I don't feel it. I think that there's tribalism, and tribalism of all stripes is unhealthy and damaging. But he's presenting, he's like a doom goblin. He's like Tucker. Oh my God, there's like so much decay in Western society, like nobody's thriving. It's kind of like that, no?
I don't think Tucker speaks Valley Girl, but yeah, it is the gist of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, Moody asks, why is such a lefty talking to Carlson? Because they have the common enemy. That's the thing. Why do the Chenks and Annas talk to the Tuckers and Candaces and talk up Megan? There's a reason, because all is forgiven if you hate the Jews. Like nothing else matters to these people. And what's better than, the one thing that's better than talking to a fellow Jew hater of left or right or anywhere else is talking to a Jew who tells you are right on every point. Let's talk about it for an hour and a half and go point by point, and I will tell you just how right you are.
Yeah, and again, like, look at even what they're saying. Like, the Tucker and this guy, when it comes to their value systems, they completely fall apart. like Alex mentioned, the sort of the gay clubs or whatever. You think Tucker, like, that's Tucker's problem. He thinks there's too much gayness in the world. Like, Tucker should be on the side. Like, if Tucker was in Israeli politics, do you think he would be like on the left? No, he would be Netanyahu fan, or he would be.
I think there's something like 30% of Tel Aviv identifies themselves as queer. Like, I think it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sorry,
but that's like.
Doesn't really
like,
matter. Whatever. It's a super gay city. It is a very gay friendly city.
Yeah, but 25% of that are like women who say they're bisexual.
No,
they never actually did anything.
Dude, you have to come in June. You have to come for the Tel Aviv Gay Parade. It is like okay. I don't know exactly what the statistics are, but Tel Aviv. Believe me, it is a very gay friendly city.
Well, what a gay city.
And we're proud of that. We're proud of that. We want to encourage all kinds of tourism to come.
Come to Tel Aviv, San Francisco of Middle East.
Although I have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of nudity. I have to say, I'm just not. I really am kind of not a fan of gratuitous penis, to be honest. But I think that's maybe my problem.
Wait, that happens at the.
There's some gratuitous. There's some in my experience on the gay beach, which to be honest, maybe I shouldn't hang out on the gay man's beach. Fair enough. Okay.
There's a dog beach.
Isn't it like just a nuda?
It's after Gordon.
Beach?
No, it's after Gordon.
Yeah, but isn't that like specifically a nuda beach?
No, it's not a nude beach. It's a gay beach. It's the gay beach. You got the dog beach. You got the gay beach. Whatever. You got the religious beach. Okay, I normally go to the women's beach, whatever. Whatever. Not a huge fan of. Why am I degrading the conversation like this?
Well, we started from a Vumbug. I don't think we can go much lower. So yeah, I think it is actually a step up. But let's take another.
But I want to hear
down.
the rest of Daniel's thing, because you were talking about how Tucker hates the liberalism.
Oh yeah, like these guys fall apart. Like he's talking about the end of secularism in Israel after 2000s, and it's like, well, that's like Tucker Carlson's dream. Like Tucker Carlson's problem is too much secularism. It's not enough sort of religious values. I mean, what was his assessment of like Maduro's regime? Well, that's a socially conservative regime. That's what I like. What do I like about Qatar? Well, they have no gay prides. Like that's the whole shtick. But because this guy hates Jews, everything else goes away. Everything else, similar to when he talks to like Chang, right? Everything goes away as soon as we can align on this one thing. As soon as we can align on our hatred of Israel. It's almost comical if it wasn't actually serious, because people do unite. Anti-Semitism makes strange bedfellows.
Yeah, romancing the trolls. I'm with Salome. I want to know what the European bathing suit is. But let's hear some more from Tucker again. Oh, you meant men's. Anyway, let's hear from Tucker and.
Who said European bathing suit?
Romancing the trolls. Oh yeah, Speedos. Oh, okay. Yeah, not a fan either. All right, let's go to other people I'm not a fan of, Tucker and of Humbug.
Do you think, given Israel's moves since this war in the last month, right, both in West Bank and in Lebanon, do you think that Israel will have different borders by the end of it? Will control more territory by the end of this?
As much as there are enough people who buy into your suspicion that we want Israel from the Euphrates to the Nile. This is actually your question, right?
How real is the Greater Israel Project? It's just hard to know. It looks real, but I don't know.
No, I just wanted to show you that I listened to you. Yeah. You see? Okay, this was just.
I'm just quoting. I'm just quoting the Torah. That's it.
Yeah, okay. So as much as there are these elements, which are the same elements that were behind the killing of Yitzhak Rabin,
Yes.
and the underground to remove the mosques, and those who harass the Palestinians now, etc., 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 I do not believe that in any future that both of us will be part of it, Israel will have any legal and legitimate borders but the 48, 49, 67 borders. There will be so many attempts. There will be so many provocations. There will be so many manipulations by all of these people. It will never work. So much so that I also wholeheartedly believe that somewhere by the end of the process, most of the settlements and the settlers from the West Bank will be removed as well. Yeah.
That's not the trend that we see from this vantage. Why would you predict that?
No. Most of Israelis want to have good life. As much as Netanyahu came with his prophetic vision of super Sparta, we still prefer Athens. Okay?
No, it's
I mean, because of the souvlaki, because of the halloumi, because of whatever.
Of course.
Okay? We prefer Athens.
Everyone prefers Athens to Sparta, of
You
course.
see? So as much as the democracy in Athens was a little bit, how shall we put it? Not updated.
Yes.
Okay? The original version was a little bit limited, but yet the vision of Athens as the place of aesthetics and philosophy and wisdom and reason and democracy, the seeds of Western democracy, most Israelis would like to have good life. We want to live. We want our children to live. Tucker, I cannot tell you how much I cried when my kids went to the army. I was standing there when the bus took them.
Okay,
And I
okay,
remembered
okay.
my
Because
mom
he's going
telling
into
me-
one of his stories.
Wait.
We'll hear the story.
Before you go, I want to still implement the rule that I think this rule should be implemented in every single interview conducted everywhere. When he finishes, he should repeat the question he was asked to Tucker. Because he was asked about the settlements and why they are going away. And so far he's talking about his children going to the army or something.
He wasn't asked about the settlements. He was asked about Greater Israel. See, this is a
Well,
problematic
original,
rule
but
that
then
you
there was
have.
a
The
then
rule
there
is
was a-
very problematic for a
then there
couple of
was a
reasons.
there was a follow-up question where he was asked, why do you think settlements
Oh.
will be removed?
Okay.
But yeah, that's
the problem with the rule is I don't think as an interviewee you necessarily like the interviewer doesn't get to decide what you say. You should probably stick to the point to some extent, but you don't owe. Yeah, you can come to an interview with your own agenda. The interesting thing here is like if you do go off track, you can say something like I don't want to answer this question, but yeah. There's like you said yesterday, there's not a dialogue there. There are two monologues. Yeah, look, the whole thing, Israelis want to live. This is the evil that is kind of underlying in his answer there. Israelis want to live. Therefore, Israel will go back to the 67, the unlivable, indefensible 67 border, which the Avrum Burgs of the world tried to impose that kind of thinking on Israel, succeeded in imposing that kind of thinking on Israelis. Israelis bought into it because they do want to live. They want peace. And what they got was 30 years of terrorism culminating on October 7th. So Israelis still want to live, and they're coming more to the realization that if they want to live, they need to kill those who would rather die than have Israelis live. Okay, so once you realize that Palestinianism is about death and nothing but death, it's about the death of the Jews and it's about the death of Palestinians as a goal, as a step towards that goal, if need be. Then, yeah, Israelis want to live will understand that what they have to do is kill everybody who says we're going to exterminate the Jews, everybody who says death to Israel, kill them before they achieve their goal. And so, yeah, Israelis want to live, which is why 1967 borders can never be a thing, which is why, while greater Israel fantasies from the Bible that maybe 5 people have, and it's mostly stuff that anti-Semites in the U.S. talk about, while that is not a thing, absolutely taking territory where it's needed for security reasons, like Lebanon, is going to be a thing. I hope we will not see in Avrumbog's lifetime Lebanon ever getting sovereignty of South Lebanon back, because that would be disastrous of Israel, because the current disaster is from Israel withdrawing in the year 2000. By the way, the year that Avrumbog says was the last year of secularism in Israel. So, yeah. Makes an accurate point, but then completely takes it in the direction that he has already imposed on people and has caused the deaths of thousands because of that direction.
Yeah, I mean, what's my favorite thing about this whole from denial to Euphrates is like you know what is the dream of like a real right winger in Israel? A nation with 10 million Egyptians, with like 7 million more Palestinians, the ones in Jordan, with like a bunch of Saudis, a bunch of Iraqis, a bunch of Syrians, a bunch of more Lebanese. That's the what is it? Eretz Israel. That's Israel we want.
Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's really interesting that the two of these people, so these two individuals, I would say, are, really from the most establishment of the establishment, right? Of like the elite of the elite, right? I mean, Avram Berg is like the closest thing I think Israelis really have to like lords and ladies, like people who are like of the establishment, whose families have ruled, areas for generations. I mean, this is who this person is. He's like a labor establishment figure. And Tucker Carlson, much of the same. I mean, these two individuals are not just elitist, they're snobs. Everybody, discusses it. And I just find it so frustrating that they are pretending to have this conversation. It's not a real conversation. It's two people acting out the fantasy for their anti-Semitic audiences. I mean, Avram is now a performer for anti-Semites. He is just, give him a peanut. He's a monkey. Good monkey. Come monkey here. Prostitute yourself for, maybe he did it for free even, here, come have some little chump change, come have some, whatever, come here and dance for me, dance for me, monkey. It's pathetic. I truly think it's pathetic. And
Yeah.
The idea is, well, he's so fringe. Come on. He's an elitist, but he's also on the fringe of the fringe of the fringe. And the bus ride made me laugh, because it's not really a bus ride. It's a pretend bus ride when you join the army. You know what I mean? Like, you get on a bus and you drive around the corner to the other end of the base, but it's like a symbolic bus ride, to say goodbye to your mom,
Wait, we haven't heard about the bus ride. We only heard that he cried, but yeah, I completely agree with you. And yeah, the question if he's prostituting himself is the question of whether or not he did it for free. But
no, maybe he's just a slut.
Yeah, I'm sure he did it out of pure evil.
We don't slut shame here.
What?
He's
Alex
a whore.
was just okay.
No. You want to be a slut? Go you.
He's a promiscuous woman.
Yeah, but if you want to FUCK Tucker Carlson, come on.
Yeah, and this is also why yesterday I had to kind of clarify to people that we put him in a capo uniform, but that is unfair to the capos who had a gun to
Who
their
were
head.
forced.
They did it,
Yeah.
and this guy does it just because he's evil.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear the story of his yeah, whatever he was saying there.
Oh,
Me, kiddo, when you grow up, there will be peace and you will not have to serve in the army. And I did have to serve in the army. And then I said the same thing to my kids. And between my wife and myself and my kids, we have more than 30 years of service in the family. Now we have grandchildren. And one day soon, they will have to serve because we are citizens of the place, we are partners to the responsibility. And I know that the day in which my grandchildren generation will stand up and say, we are ready to defend the legitimate Israel, but we're not ready to sacrifice our life or to sacrifice the life of others on the altar of this craziness. This day is close.
That's very
And the
reassuring.
more, I'm sorry.
That's a very reassuring thing to hear.
Okay. So
Again,
if the world's leading anti-Semitic media personality is reassured by what you're saying, you must be saying some pretty despicable anti-Semitic stuff. And what he's saying is the Bobby Villain chant in pretentious intellectual philosopher king form. He's saying essentially Israelis will not want to fight because they'll want peace, and then they won't join the army. And we know what happens even when there is an army and it's not present where needed when needed, because we saw that on October 7th. So his fantasy, remember, October 7th ended because eventually the army got its shit together. If there's no army, October 7th ends when the last Jew is murdered. So that is the fantasy there. And that's what Tucker Carlson finds so reassuring. Alex?
yeah, I think it's interesting how the two of these individuals, Tucker as well as Avram, they both have such profound daddy issues. Really, I do. I mean, I think, these two men are the sons of certainly complicated, but nevertheless accomplished, principled, and I would say, great men. I mean, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Dick Carlson. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Joseph Burke. I mean, one of the most, I think, you don't get. I mean, he founded the Israeli kind of right. I mean, he founded sort of like even the Dati Leumi movement, in a way, and so in the shadow of these two great men, I think you have these sons who never lived up to it. I mean, Tucker's whole family's pretty nuts, right? You have these two men who there's a true desire to be the opposite. There is this kind of childlike need to defy. I find the whole thing with the two of them so profoundly personal. And I'm not meaning to psychologize or therapize, because they're both evil, right? However, there is something in that there's these two pathetic, sad men licking their wounds in the shadow of these great fathers. And I don't know. I don't really understand the I don't really understand the psychology of that, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't understand the psychology of it either, and to the extent that it's true, it's sad, and maybe the place where both men failed in you know raising those sons, because
Hmm.
first of all, why do you have to compare yourself to your father or anybody else? And if that is what they're doing, and yeah, having people go the exact opposite direction. um
Yeah, I mean, but even I don't know, even Yosef Berg did so much for Mizrahim, like he really did a lot for bridging the kind of, he was a rabbi. I mean, he did a lot. I mean, if you take a look at his CV, okay, his son was a little bitty interim president for whereas his father was minister of religious affairs, speaker of the house, minister of welfare, minister of everything, minister of Misrad Briut, and was in the Knesset his whole life, and invented, right, the Dati Leumi kind of movement, which has been the strongest movement of the last 50 years. Okay, because you needed to have this kind of thing that would unite the secular and the religious Jews, and that is what the kind of, because people who are secular are also dati leumi. If you live in a settlement and you're not suicidal and you vote for one of the parties on the right, you're a dati leumi person. I mean, right, Razi?
I don't know what happens in settlements. I don't think I would be allowed in, because I
What are
like.
you talking about? Dude, I want to say something. Razi, that's complete shit. Do you know that if you go to Kiryat Arba, they have swimming pools that are like mixed sex. They have, if you go to places like Al Menashe, there's not even a synagogue there. Okay? If you go to there's Ariel. Is that a
Yeah,
place
Ariel
where
is the
religion? Come
city.
on. No,
It's a
Vakasha.
proper
So what?
city. But
So what are you talking about?
if a place is
Are you
claimed to
talking about
secularity,
some abandoned Fakakta hilltop?
hang on. If a city's claim to secularity is, look, we even have a pool where boys and girls can both be, like, that's
No,
not
I'm not
reassuring.
meaning that. I'm meaning that's a symbol of secular life, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? It is a symbol of secular life. And there are 50% of Kiryat Arba is not religious, right? You go to Pisgat Ze'ev, right? In Jerusalem. You go to where I live. It's half secular. People are barbecuing on Shabbat. They're having parties. They're this, that. I mean, I don't know. Like, if you're looking for like a gay bar on every street and dance parties, okay, yeah, fine. You're gonna have to go to Tel Aviv. Okay, it's not that. But the idea that
I
they're
don't
not
need the
gonna
gay
let you
bar.
like
I
Razi,
like
they
a
wouldn't
bacon
give a shit.
cheeseburger. I'd like a bacon
No, bacon
cheeseburger.
cheeseburger. You think anyone cares? It's like, what do you think? Like, it's, I mean, maybe don't invite people over for cheeseburgers if you think it's going to offend anybody's sensibilities. But come on. Like, it's not what you think, Razi. It's not what you think.
All right, I will take your word for it for now, and we
Because
can
it's the
go have
truth.
bacon
It really
cheeseburgers
is the
and
truth.
Kiryat Arba
Come
next
to
time I
Male
visit.
Adumim. No, come to Male Adumim. Come
Yeah,
to Male
Maladui
Adumim
is
and come and
also
see.
practically a city. It's like
Okay. So
50,000
so
people.
so Ariel and Mele Adumim are the most populous places.
Yeah,
So by
but I don't
definition,
think of them as settlements. I think of settlements as places, small places that have been settled despite the security threat by people who, who.
yeah, but the Nachal movement was a secular movement, and they founded, like, all of the kibbutzim and all of the ishuvim in the Jordan Valley, for example. There's Russians that established a whole bunch as well. The place where Lieberman lives, no, Tekoa, right? I mean, come on, like, come on, enough. Don't perpetuate the stereotype, because
Is it
it's silly.
Liberman and Tumim?
No. That's Ktumim is more north, but Lieberman lives in a near Tekoa, or it is Tekoa, one of them anyway. And we all know how he feels about religious people. Pretty hostile. Okay, so it's this 500,000 people, and within that, it's like, I don't like it because it's like trying to say that because there's 200 people who go around acting like thugs and setting fires, that the whole of the population is condemned. And it's
That's
the same
not
thing
what I'm
because
saying at all.
no,
I'm
I know
not
you're
saying
not saying
and,
that, but
and I
you're
support their right to be there, even if they're and not eating any, non-kosher food and whatever they want to do. But yeah, unless it's Maladumim or Ariel, I am most
yeah,
likely
but
not.
Razzie, you're thinking the idea that you would not be welcome is total horseshit. It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
Why? Because it looks like Palestinian?
No, he's trying to say because he's so secular. I mean, come on, Razzie. I have to take you to Tekoa, or I have to take you
I
to
don't know if you
Rada.
can hear this, but it sounds like there's a fire alarm
A
where I am.
fire has been reported in the building.
Well, how about you go out?
Being investigated.
Hang on. Okay.
Oh, it's being investigated. Don't worry. Well, let us know if it gets hot or you smell smoke.
We can continue, although this is annoying. But yeah.
Someone's asking, how did Alex learn so much about Israel?
Tell us.
Mhm.
Other people at home.
That's funny.
I was about to say that I went to settlement, but no, I actually went to a kibbutz in Israel when I was there.
No, you did go to a settlement with me.
Did I?
Me and you. Yeah. I took you
Where?
to East Jerusalem.
All of East Jerusalem is a settlement?
Technically, yeah, that's what they claim. I took you to Givat Tachmoshet. I took you to Shiftei Israel and no, the other one. Mashu Yaakov. How have I forgotten this? Whoa, that's really creepy that I've forgotten it.
I don't remember the Hebrew name, so I don't know what you're
I
saying.
think it's Nave Yaakov I took you to as well. So yeah, you've been to settlements. And did you feel harassed for your
Well, I've been to East
goyish
Jerusalem,
ways?
yeah.
Did they spit on you for your horrible? You were carrying a cross as
Well,
well. which
at some point,
I kind of love. You're carrying a cross.
By the way, guys, I can't hear anything you were saying pretty much because there's a loud thing that I don't know if you can hear it in the microphone.
Yes.
A fire has been reported in the building.
But keep going and I will stay
Sure.
here and hopefully this will end.
People are asking about my jewelry. So this is my mother's. This is my mother's ring that she gave me that she got in a pawn shop. So and this is a bit of a diamond necklace that she got me as well for my bat mitzvah. So people are asking about my jewelry.
Well, somebody said Daniel ring. I don't see. Well, this is an
No,
oil ring.
Daniel didn't buy me a ring. He bought a wooden cross and some holy water.
No, it was cross. No, it was the whatever three things that the kings gave to Jesus.
Oh, the myrrh and the frankincense, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
You need these. I mean, like the essentials.
That was in the old
The
city.
essentials that you need.
We also went by the UNRWA building, and I think at some point Alex
Oh.
thought somebody was following us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So anyway, I just wanted to dispel any myths that are being spread by Razi maliciously about the demographic makeup of the people who live
Your
in
attention,
Israel.
please.
It's very
I heard
diverse.
like a few words of that.
Has been reported in the building.
But this guy, no, Bonnie, this is not part of the Don't Be a Retard segment. The thing says remain at your workplace, so I'm remaining. But yeah, you guys continue, and hopefully I'll be able to hear you and then also speak soon.
So Yala, you want to continue, Daniel?
Yeah.
It's like pulling teeth with this dude.
I'll give you a moment that you were there with me in that moment when October 7th erupted like a volcano, covered the entire city of Naples, so to say, the Israeli Naples. We were all under the dust. What was the first thing that came back to the table? Two-state solution. as much as Trump said, I solved it. And Netanyahu, like Houdini, made it disappear. It came back to the table and it is still there. And you cannot ignore it. And you should not ignore it. And therefore, the pressure from within and from the outside.
Is it just making stuff up? What does it mean two-state solution came back to the table? By who?
Trump says a lot, and at some point, I
So
think
Trump
he
wasn't
said something like-
president in 2023.
Oh, is that when he said it came back?
Well, he said after October 7th.
Yeah, after October 7th, as in since October 7th. No, Trump did mention it in passing, but no, it didn't come back. And a bunch of countries recognizing an imaginary state with no borders and no institutions and no government, like that's not a thing. The Palestinian state is off the table, and these people live in an imaginary world. What the hell?
It was brought to my attention that during Razi's commentary on my episode with Berg, he said there was a fire alarm. Did he set him himself? I'm not saying he did.
I'm not saying he did, but I'm just wondering, where was he on September 10th? Where was he? Were you in Utah? Were you following the Egyptian plains? Just asking questions. Razi, though that beard, it looks a little strange. Do you have any blood in your beard? Maybe from the, Christian babies that you have been snacking on? I'm not accusing you. I'm just asking questions.
Razi could grow out his beard, do something, and then shave it, and nobody would be the wiser.
I mean, I'm not anti-Semitic. I really amn't.
By the way, I think the whole Razi trolling segment was won by Shadows, who said, Candace's next episode, a fire mysteriously was set at Razi's building. Did he set it himself? I'm just asking questions. I love that you call it Razi's building. Yeah, ARCUK is just about ready to take over the whole building, but soon. But that is a good opportunity to remind how far we are from the Super Chat goal. I think we're a few Super Chat goals away from taking over the entire building, but we'll get there. Yeah, we are almost 20% of the way to removing ads and to me explaining why you can never get rich counting cards, even if you think you know what you're doing. It's not a thing. But yeah. Anyway, all right. Should we go back to Avunbog, or have we...
it's funny. Like, what is he talking about? It became on the table again. What, with the, little corner street that you have in Salah or something? Like, where are you talking about? You know that his mother was she survived the Hebron massacre. Can you imagine?
29?
Yeah.
May I have your attention?
I mean, the dude is like 70, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his mother, Rivka, survived the Hebron massacre. But I wonder as well, like, it was probably, in context, it kind of, they had a point. I mean, I'm sure that's what Avram would say. I mean, they were massacring. Well, yeah, they were massacring and raping the Jews because they were upset. Because they understood they understood in the future that the Jews are going to have their own state, and they just had to do something about it. I mean, they were driven to it. They were driven to it by the Jews and their state building and their nation building, and they're developing a national insurance institute and a health ministry. They had to do it.
And like curing malaria and stuff like that. Disgusting.
Oh, that really annoyed them, bastards.
Not curing malaria, there was a cure. Figuring out a way to
get rid of the swamps.
Yeah.
And the reality and the options, I hope, will be offered to all of us after this round with Iran will be over. There will be new options. Some of them awful, some of them promising. Eventually, Israelis will say, we are ready to serve the needed, but not the fantasies.
Are you concerned that Israel, if this continues at the current pace, will be hit hard enough by Iran that it responds with nuclear weapons?
The first time I thought about it was when you started to raise the issue in your programs. And I had a feeling that you are really troubled by it.
Very.
Wow. Okay.
And I
Okay. I don't know what he's about to say, but that's the thing. This is why he's there, and this is why Tucker is popular, because people don't really think about these things that Tucker is telling them about the Jews, and then Tucker raises it, and they're like, "What? The Jews are about to nuke all of the Middle East, and." They're not even really Jews, by the way. They need we need to have DNA tests for them, and it's because they want to build the Temple Mount and the temple, and yeah. Anyway, any thoughts on that before we go back and hear where he's going with this and see if he's actually going to say that there's any chance of Israel nuking Iran here?
I don't have anything to add. Alex? Oh,
Let's hear more from this brain trust.
That now you're troubled that Israel will be nuked or will nuke them because the effect on so many other fronts and the nuclear race that will start right afterwards will put all of us in a real threat. So I started to think about it. I'm not so much troubled by Israel nuking them because Israel has two strategies. Since we, as Jews, we could never compromise with one opinion, so we said, yeah, let's have two opinions. So we have one conventional army that is ordered to win, never mind what, and then we have the non-conventional capability, which is ordered to win no matter what. And I believe that every threat yet in the region we can address with conventional power and setting. Yet, if there should be a way out of it, you promote in the last couple of weeks, you promote the issue of all the sides to sit together around the same table, talk respectfully to each other with no patronizing and with no arrogance, just talk to each other. I say something as well. Yes, of course, I'm a dialogist.
okay, I just wanna set this. And I made this joke. I'm currently taking a parent effectiveness training with Catherine Dickerson. I recommend checking that out. And I was talking like these people are talking like all USA and Iran needs is like PET training. Like they just don't know how to talk to each other. Like it's a joke, but for those who don't know, it's basically way to develop your conversation skills so you can actually figure out solution. It's like Iran just needs to say, well, I feel threatened by American imperialism, and that makes me scared, and therefore I cannot exist as a state. No, it's a joke. Iran wants to wipe out the state of Israel first and probably America later. This is not a communication problem. This is one guy wants to kill you, and for some reason we want to talk to him about it. As if that is something you can get a conversation out of. No comments? All right, we can do more.
I talk with you. Okay, we're talking. I want the outcome of this war to be a Middle East clean of weapons of mass destruction to all, Israel denied bombs included. Now it is clear that Iran must have North Korean strategy in order to protect itself. It didn't start with us. It started with the Iraqis. Then they said, listen, the only way we can protect ourselves is to have this kind of supra capability. So in order for Iran not to have it, and therefore
The first time Iraq was invaded is because they invaded another country. What is this? Like, even historically, what he says makes no sense at all. The reason why these countries, even when they get invaded, they do, is because they develop weapons of mass destruction that they already used before. In the case of Iraq, Iraq already had them and used them. We are not talking about some hypothetical. And even when it comes to Iraqi wars, Iraq was the one who invaded Iran originally. So what are they afraid of? Like, again, is like, even historic, like, I could make better arguments for like Arabs and like Iran than this guy.
Well, it's not making an argument for Israel's enemies that he's trying to do. He's trying to make an argument against Israel, and I think he is doing that, and he knows the audience. I mean, he's doing that not in a way that rational people will be convinced, but he's doing it in a way that throws more fuel on the fire to people who already hate Jews and just need more proof, and they get it, on a daily basis, or they think what they're getting is the proof they need from Tucker, and now having it from an Israeli Jew talking like this, what more do you need?
Somebody says that's what he said, that Iraq invaded Iran. Okay, he said it in a weird way, but I guess you might actually be true. He might have meant that originally with Iraq invaded Iran. That's why Iran needs nuclear capabilities. But again, even that doesn't make sense, because again, who right now is going to invade Iran for some other reason than to eliminate the Iranian threat? Nobody. Iraq is, for the most part, already under political influence of Iran. What, like Afghanistan or like Pakistan are gonna invade Iran, or like Tajikistan or Azerbaijan? Like, come on. And even then, like, let's not kid ourselves that Iran is developing nuclear weapons to like protect itself from other Muslim nations attacking it. It wants to threaten Israel and America, or even some of the other Gulf states.
for Saudi not to run after them. And then Egypt to say, what about us? And then the Emiratis or the Qataris buying something from Pakistan. And then we should make sure that by the end of this negotiation, whatever we give to whom, because this negotiation you give, you take, you negotiate, the outcome should be a process, a Middle East clean of weapons of mass destruction, which will be imposed on Israel as well.
Let me just quickly say, all that process is taking Israel's weapons of mass destruction, right? Because Iran and other countries might agree with it. You know, we heard about all the countries that are signatories to the Non-Proliferation Treaty. That included Iraq, right? That included Syria. It included Iran. Iran had IAEA inspectors confirming for many, many years while the weapons program was being built that there is no weapons program. So yeah, all he is saying here is we need Israel to disarm itself, so that if the death to Israel people get to a point where they can implement that, then what? Then Israel will, we can all say, oopsie, Israel did the right thing because we asked them. They stopped, they disarmed, and now it no longer exists. And now the Holocaust, the job that Hitler started, was finished. But, we had peace. We had peace for a little bit, until we didn't.
Who could impose that?
President Trump. Overnight.
It's hard for me. I mean, again, as someone who would love to see, would be grateful to see what you just described. I want that. It's hard to see Netanyahu ever accepting that under any circumstances.
That's right. That's right. It's difficult. It's not easy. But as my wise father that was mentioned once already in this program used to say, he doesn't believe in sticks and carrots. He believes in carrots and carrots. And then he said, even a carrot can cause some pain sometime. I mean, there are ways to do it. There are ways to secure it. There are ways to guarantee it. It opens a whole new window, so to say, about can you trust America today? What the Gulf states that both of us are curious about them.
Yes.
Okay, something is happening there. What will they say if America will walk away from this conflict and leave them alone at the mouth of the Iranian lion or the Israeli lion?
That's right.
Not good.
Not good.
What Japan will say.
That's right.
What South Korea will say. What India will say. And Taiwan, Singapore, all of these important places. If you cannot trust America, so it's self-reliance. Self-reliance means an immediate armament race, which is bad. So in order to prevent the world to go into a new race like that, and this is the entire world, and we know who will be the profiteers of it. All of those who export death and weapons of hatred to all over the world, in order not to make these industries of hatred and industries of suspicion and industries of death, in order not to make them profitable, the only way to come positively out of this conflict is to begin here at home. Here is the first region which is clean, and we move on. And these are the guarantees we Americans are giving you that nothing bad will happen to you.
Okay.
If a threat like this.
All right. Thank you. So first of all, he said Trump can do it overnight, can impose it overnight, and then, yeah, it'll be difficult and so on. But then the U.S. can give a guarantee. Now, the U.S. can give a guarantee, and then and there's another guarantee, which is in 2.5 years, there's going to be a presidential election in the U.S. And then, I didn't guarantee, the other guy guaranteed, and I promised, I won the election promising not to be like the other guy. So that guarantee is worthless. Ukraine got a guarantee. A guarantee is worthless. What is a guarantee is having nukes and being able to fucking nuke a country. That's a guarantee. All right. Pardon the French. Alex.
Yeah, but then he kind of went on and he just sort of he went after the defense industry as well, which I take pretty personally. Like, what do you mean? What is he trying to say? He's trying to say that we need to basically completely disarm, get rid of the military. I mean, that's where he's heading with this. He's saying that people who are involved in the defense industry, and of course he believes, he's alluding to this idea that there's a global conspiracy to keep war going because it's so goddamn profitable. Let me tell you, it is not profitable.
The military industrial complex.
Yeah, I mean, I literally have people from, quasi-Western countries that we're, aligned with, begging me to work with them because they can't afford, relatively cheap cyber products, begging, or trying to figure out how they can scrape the change from down, the back of the couch. It's expensive. Let me tell you that. Also, he keeps showing his boomer ideas. A nuclear weapon, big fucking deal. I'm sorry, right? But a nuclear weapon, okay, it's like it'll destroy your city, whatever. I'll take your whole country out with a cyber attack. The lack of imagination is astonishing. You know, I'll literally shut down your water plants with a cyber attack. You know, we'll do Stuxnet on a big scale. You'll die of thirst in 3 days. Okay. A nuclear weapon, whoop-de-doo. Really. It's such a boomer mentality, because a nuclear weapon is a big spectacle, you know, but again, like it's not where we are anymore, right? Think about it if I remove your electricity in perpetuity, right, with a cyber attack, you know, like the place will turn into Lord of the Flies in like a week. It's and this idea of a nuclear weapon. Why would Israel drop a nuclear weapon? What's it going to get you? Oh, great. So I've dropped a nuclear weapon on Tehran. What now? You know? Is it a strategy? I don't get it. I really don't. Like, what is he trying to say? Could you even imagine the conversation with all of the
what he's
generals
basically
get together,
saying,
and one of them
choose-
says, let's drop a nuke. No, right? It would be, sorry, can somebody remove Shlomi? He's been drinking. I think we need to lock him up in like we need to put him in like a psychiatric hospital, like ambulance for Shlomi. You know, like that's what they would do. Right, Razi?
Yes, but I like having it on the table as an option. It's not likely to be done at any point, and with Iran of all countries, it's better not to do it anyway, because there's possibilities in a future peaceful Iran that you wipe out with a nuclear bomb. But yeah, having it, being prepared to use it, I'm all for it.
Yeah, sure, it should be on the table, but it's not, again, like I can't imagine the situation where that is gonna happen. You know, maybe who knows? I'm not even that convinced that it's very expensive to have a nuclear arsenal.
And also the big thing is, like, we can do what the nuclear weapon would achieve. Like, we can obliterate Tehran without the nuclear weapon if we wanted to, right? Like, there's nothing really stopping Israel, or especially America, from like completely carpet bombing like all of Tehran and wiping it from map. It right now it's like, yeah, what is the strategic objective?
Right. Because also remember Colin Powell, what he said: you break it, you buy it. You know, like if they, you know, it kind of that's what America would have to do. Okay, you screw it up, you do this. I'm not saying that that's right, but that is their approach.
Buy Tehran?
Right? I could even.
It's not
no,
right.
but like you need to do.
Because the people who broke it are the Ayatollahs, and
Yeah, I understand. I'm not on I'm not on Colin Powell's track. I'm just saying that is very common.
I keep going back to what Pete Hegseth said a few days into the war, mocking the idea of nation building, and I'm hoping they'll stick to that. And if they do, then it is the Iranians who broke it, and we're all suffering. So hopefully, that'll end, and nobody will be confused as to who's to blame for it beginning. Bonnie says in the chat, I've never heard Carlson do his abrupt little yes, I agree, that's right on other interviews. He's really got a soulmate here. Oh yeah, he loves this. This is again, the fact that this is said in a Hebrew accent gives it credibility. That Tucker, certainly for Tucker's audience. It's one of those, they're admitting it. The Jews are admitting everything we've always said.
They're saying the quiet part out loud. Oh my god.
Do you think Finkelstein is sad that he doesn't have an Hebrew accent? Kind of loses legitimacy a little bit.
But you know that his parents are Holocaust survivors. Did you know that?
Oh, that's right.
So that therefore means that everything he says has to be. And there's a specific psychological profile.
Wait, aren't these guys as well, or at least one? Isn't his father?
No, because remember his mother was in His mother was in Hebron,
But
in 29, so
his father was born in Germany, or did he leave before?
but I think he left before the war. If I'm
Okay.
not mistaken, he did leave before the war. But I don't want to be held to that. Someone in the chat can go ahead and prove us wrong. Give us a citation. But still, right?
Let's hear some more.
Oh Jesus, he immigrated in 39. Jesus Christ, from Germany.
Because shit wasn't going well,
Oh, yeah.
Daniel.
They will
Shit was a bit,
will stand in front
it
of
was
you.
a bit much.
So America, in order to do anything, is not just about the oil prices, which is important by itself. I mean, if you live in the suburbs for so many years and you want to drive to your pharmacy or to your supermarket, the price is crucial. I consider it very seriously as a daily existential issue for the American citizen. But if you want the world to be pacified and calmer, you need to restore not the trust in the markets, but the trust in America.
Again, we strongly agree on that.
Wait, isn't it kind of implying that America should be involved in a war with Iran, and also to protect the Gulf states? Like, am I missing something? But that seems to be the implication. Especially when he mentioned like Japan and South Korea, like isn't the... Or does it mean it should make a deal with Iran so the war doesn't happen? Or I guess they could be implying that.
Well, yeah, the Japan and Korea thing was, was part of his case of why Trump should force Israel to give up its nukes, right? So I don't know how he thinks he's gonna. What's the next step? Asking North Korea nicely or forcing North Korea? I don't know. But looking for logic with this guy, I think is where we go wrong.
What would happen?
I apologize.
What would happen if no American leader was able to restore that trust, or the United States couldn't afford to remain a stabilizing force globally because it's expensive? What would happen to the world?
The simple answer is I have no clue. The little bit more augmented one is somebody else will walk, somebody else will grow into this responsibility. Will it be China? That with all the problems the Chinese are having, they're about two things. They're very much about continuous stability at home and abroad, and they hardly ever initiate a war. They play games, but they don't declare wars the way we declare wars every now and then. So maybe China will grow into it. Maybe there will be a different world coalition of interested parties who would like to see something like that. And this is a very, very ambitious end. What about Europe? I saw your vice president there, and then I saw your Secretary of State there. One with a little bit more abrasive style, the other one a little bit more subtle one, saying the same thing. Europe, you're done. And I say, I'm not at all sure. The good old continent was done so many times and rediscovered itself and can you say rebirthed itself?
Yes.
How do you reproduced itself? Okay,
Yes.
I'm out of it. Okay, reproduced itself so many times in history. And I have a feeling that this mechanism of renewal, which is the cradle of the Western civilization is European first, and only then the rest of the Christian, Anglo-Saxon, etc., etc. And I have a feeling that Europe has the power to renew itself and to grow up into it. And remember that Israel and Turkey and Iran and Saudi Arabia are the next door neighbors. It's not a far away from Florida place.
No, it's not.
And I take Mark Twain wisdom, who said that every now and then America declares a war in order for Americans to study geography. I understand.
Okay, it's weird.
Did he really?
It's weird because he keeps talking down to America, like really, which you would expect from somebody with these views, and then he's talking Europe up. Europe rebirths itself, reproduces itself. No, Europe re-kills itself and its own people. Every now and again, the European sense of life comes out. It caused 2 world wars in the previous century. Now they're sitting from afar, cheerleading those who want to cause wars and murder, and they're sitting it out while claiming to be anti-war in doing so. And yeah, it's no wonder that Bull will praise Europe and then, talk about America from time to time going to war. What war? World War II? I mean, when America didn't get involved, and then Americans were murdered. The wars in the Middle East in the past quarter century, when America was attacked and didn't even go after the countries that were responsible. Just went after the countries that it was easy to build a coalition of mostly European countries around. These people lie. The thing is, they don't only lie about the future. In the future, everybody will want to go back to the 67 borders. It's going to happen in our lifetime and so on. They lie about the past. They lie about the actual wars that we know about. And if we don't know about, we can study about. But he knows, again, like I always say about these people, they know the audience they're speaking to. It's an audience that will learn history, learn World War II history from what's his face, who was on Tucker's podcast, who said that Churchill was the real villain of World War II. Like that's where they get their history, and that's where apparently Avumbu gets his history. I would like to hear Tucker ask him. I had this guest who said maybe he could Tucker the question and the statement and say. He challenged the idea that maybe Churchill was God's gift to man, and what do you think of that? Do it Tucker style, and let's see what he says. But you're not going to do it, and we know why. Because, your views, just what you're pushing on humanity, doesn't stand the test of the facts, and and also is pure evil, and you speak to an audience that you hope isn't going to see that, but we all have access to the internet now.
Yeah, I don't have much to add here.
Say that, but that's pretty good.
This is what I read, okay? And if he did not, let's give it to him, okay? He deserves it. In the
Oh yeah, Mark Twain didn't say that. Well, okay.
World, you say either Bernard Shaw or Groucho Marx or Oscar Wilde or Mark Twain, right?
We have a limited palette. Yes, no, I agree.
Yeah, one of them did it. Okay, so and I say for Europe, it is much more natural. At what sense? When you look at the Middle East of today, with all of its fragility and all of its volatile forces, is the leftover of 2 poisonous European fruits, the Holocaust and colonialism. And I'm not at all sure that Europe went yet through the process to internalize it, to grow up to the challenge. What do we do about it? Do we have any kind of historic responsibility? And with America walking away, this America walking away from NATO and walking away from so many things, maybe it's time for Europe to recalculate its position in history.
So I have to end. I should have done this at the beginning, but I just want to make sure that you get credit for this. I want to read a line that you wrote immediately after the beginning of this war, and you wrote it in the Israeli press because it's just so prescient. And you're describing your
Which Israeli press? I'm wondering.
Prime Minister Netanyahu and our President Trump. You said, neither he nor Trump has the faintest idea what they want to happen here after day one. You saw that at the very beginning, that this was a war without a strategic goal. And I think that's proven true. Here's my question. How were you treated when you said that? What was the response to that? And what has your life been like in Israel over the last month? Because I don't think you're in the majority in your opinions.
I left the Knesset voluntarily some 20 years ago. And ever since, I dedicated most of my life to think, to write, to read, to lecture, to teach, to offer alternative narrative to Israel. Easy it is not. And with each and every book of mine and each and every article of mine, in a way, I'm pushed further away from the mainstream. This is not just about the death wishes and the threats and the pushbacks in the streets. It's not about that. It's about the loneliness of having an opinion. Yet, I'm a Jew. What does that mean? Being a Jew is many things. One of them is to be dedicated to the culture of disagreement. When you look at the Talmud, that's the most important Jewish writing, a creation. That's the oral Torah. This is the development of the written scripture. It's thousands of pages. So boring, Tucker, you cannot imagine. My goat ate your tomato. Your cucumber heated my wife. I mean, what kind of... But it's not about goats. It's not about cucumbers. It's not about this. Jews for centuries, so did I, so did my father, so did my grandfather, studied the Talmud because the Talmud documents obsessively not just the decision and the verdict of the majority, but the position of the minority, with the assumption that a day will come.
Yeah, I gotta
the
just
majority.
Just to ease the pain in my brain from him talking. By the way, if you quote the Talmud, you're not gonna get invited to Candace's show, but that's fine. There's other shows that you can go on. Yeah, everything he says is like when he tries to say something that's positive, when he tries to say something that's negative. Now I think he's trying to say something positive about Jews, but it's so collectivist. Everything in his mind is a collective. The only time he mentioned, and he actually mentioned the individual, is when he says Israelis don't see the individual in Gaza. And he said that in the context of the imaginary individual that I guess is really wants peace. Israelis only see the individuals in Gaza who murdered and celebrated the murder and who held hostages and tried to kill those hostages. That's what people see. People see that which is there. Unfortunately, not clearly enough, and don't always observe reality and process it objectively, but they certainly do to a greater extent than Avram Burg. And what has pushed him certainly further from the mainstream in the last 2.5 years isn't anything that he's saying. It's not his recent book. It's the reality that hit Israelis in the hardest possible way on October 7th, it made it so much more difficult to ignore. And some people will ignore it, Vivian Silver style, while being burnt alive by the people they're saying actually want peace. And Avum Bug is undoubtedly a Vivian Silver. But most people don't want to be Vivian Silvers. Most people don't want to be burnt alive. Most people actually want to live like he says Israelis want to live. And this is why Israelis are now so much further away from these fantasies that we've actually put into practice for 30 years. And the result was the mass murder of Jews time and time again until it culminated on October 7th. And now, in reality, they're like, okay, if we want to live, let's acknowledge what the Palestinians are. Let's acknowledge what all our enemies are. And, let's take some steps towards guaranteeing that we can continue to live.
Yeah, again, I'm at loss at words with this guy, which again, some trolls in the chat might interpret as me waking up to the global Jewry and the lies I've been told, but you want to finish him off?
Is he back?
What?
Is he back? The troll who said you're waking up like dozens of times yesterday. Is he back in the chat?
No. Sorry, I frozen for a second.
Oh, all right. Okay, thank you, PC, for the super chat. PC says, Razi, the UK Prime Minister is a man of no morality. Worst Prime Minister ever. No morality, I agree. Worst Prime Minister ever. I don't know if he is definitely the worst Prime Minister ever, but he is up there. And he's, even if you rank them and he's not the worst, it doesn't matter. Like the results of his leadership, if you can call it that, is something we're gonna suffer from, not just while he's in power, but long after.
He will wake up and realize how wrong they were. We have already ready-made the strategy prepared by the minority to become the new majority philosophy. So being in a minority and a Jew, it's not a problem. So were the prophets. So were the rabbis. So were the intellectuals. So what? It's a responsibility. And I see my role in life, and it's not alone. You never do things like this alone, is to offer first thinking, which is different than the parameters of the public discourse, and to be courageous enough and expressive enough for people to know there is an address out there. There is somebody out there who thought about it and he's not afraid, so shouldn't we be afraid? Look at my t-shirt. Okay? I went abroad a couple of months ago. I'm going with that. I said, listen, every ultra-Orthodox has his outfit that you recognize, like an Amish, okay?
Yes.
Every settler has his or her outfit, which is an M16 rifle and something else, okay? I have my uniform. So I'm in the airport, comes to me a guy and says, Bog, don't you think it's about time to change your shirt? I said, why, it's stinking? He said, no, peace is stinking. Okay. And of course, for me, it was an opening for a deliberation, for a discussion. So, yes, many times I'm alone. And yes, many times I'm even lonely. But I'm full of hope. And I offer hope for others. And when my daughter asked me, Daddy, how do you feel? She asked me the Tucker's question. How do you feel? I said, what's the problem, dear? I'm in a majority. I agree with myself. At home, we all think the same, so it's a majority. All my friends think like me. It's a majority. Politically, I support people like me. So we are the majority. The fact that they have more numbers, that's marginal.
Okay, wow.
But
yeah, this guy's...
We only have half a minute.
Oh yeah, let me just quickly say because a couple of things. Yeah, in half a minute he can talk a lot of bullshit. Yeah, again, the numbers matter sometimes when it's important to your case, and then they don't matter at other times. So yeah, I'm in the majority in my circle. Um, and that's all that matters in a sense. It's good to surround yourself with like-minded people if your ideas are good. I mean, I would not want to be around the kind of people he's around, and I think his who he is as a person is kind of a reflection of that. But yeah, yeah, politically you have no chance of getting beyond a few seats in parliament with your anti-Semitic, anti-Israel friends. You're lonely. Go to Gaza and see how they will welcome you with open arms. Yeah, you walk around Israel with that T-shirt, and nobody does anything to you because, uh, in Israel, people accept that different people have different views. You will not be accepted, even in. I can take you to some neighborhoods in London where if you wear that shirt because it has Hebrew letters on it. It doesn't matter what it says, and they don't support peace. That's the people. Man, peace is a word that's part of the political vocabulary in Israel. It's never been a part of the political vocabulary among Palestinians. So, and he knows that. Again, this guy is not speaking out of ignorance. He's speaking out of evil.
Bottom line is sometimes, Tucker, being a Jew means being an alternative.
Well, I like your alternative, and this conversation has really been a blessing for me. So thank you very much for taking the time to
Same.
do it, and I hope a lot of people see this.
Thank you very much for your time
Thank you.
and giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much, Tucker.
Thank you.
Yeah, now go give Tucker money or something. Oh, not even that. Okay, great. Yeah. Daniel, your general thoughts on what we've seen over the past nearly 7 hours of 6 hours and 40 minutes of this of these past two streams. Oh yeah, Bonnie, the shirt says shalom, salam, peace. So the same word in three languages. Yeah, if you put it on a T-shirt, that's all that matters. Speaking of which, Daniel, before we get your thoughts on the interview, what people can put on T-shirts that really matters? Well, we already put it on a T-shirt. All you have to do is buy it, and then besides the fact that you will support the work that we do here, you will also show the world that there is an alternative to the Avrum Tucker Carlson, Che Guevara way of thinking, and that is the Nikos Guevara T-shirt, or the Ayn Rand Center UK for-profit T-shirt, or the Nikos Guevara hoodie, or one of the many more items and designs that will be on this shop soon. But you should get yours now. It doesn't matter. You don't need to wait and bundle them into one shipment to save on shipping, because shipping is included in the price, i.e. free. And yeah, so go ahead, objectivism.co.uk/shop, and get your T-shirts and hoodies today. Daniel, your thoughts on what's his face?
I listened to a guy who has been in Israeli politics for a long time, Speaker of Parliament, interim president, as they like to point out, and I learned nothing this whole time after like 6 or 7 hours. Absolutely nothing new, which should tell you something about this guy and his way. Well, I learned about the Jewish underground, the people who wanted to blow up Al-Aqsa Mosque. I guess that's what I learned.
Yeah, to paraphrase Ronald Reagan, you learned so much that isn't so. WUB says you should make Nikos wear it for the promo. That's never going to happen. I don't think Nikos is going to wear the Nikos Guevara T-shirt. I think Nikos will enjoy seeing others wearing the T-shirt. So yeah, people, get yours. And next time Nikos comes to your city, which hopefully he will do now that he is an independent intellectual, he will be doing things that he can do as an independent intellectual, which will include speaking engagements. And of course, while we're on Nikos, other than buying the t-shirt, you should go support Nikos on Patreon. Daniel, can you put that link in the chat as well? And yeah, and look, this is the shortest stream so far in the war, and it doesn't look like it was an exciting title and thumbnail for many people, but it is by far the lowest in likes. So if you did enjoy this, if you do think that more people should see it, make sure to click the like button. That is the easy and free way to support our work. There are also non-free ways, some of which we mentioned. Another one is AynRandCenter.co.uk/membership. Become a member, get access to the Sunday sessions with James Valiant on Leonard Peikoff's Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand. The Tuesday sessions run by Antoine and with Shoshana Milgram participating on Atlas Shrugged, and our WhatsApp groups where we all, or most of us, participate regularly. Thank you, Ex Nihilo, for the generous super chat right at the end, which brings us close to the goal, but not quite there. Yeah, tomorrow will be a proper length stream. That is at least the plan. Yeah, but since we are in selling mode, the Irreplaceable Spark Conference is still, tickets are still cheaper than they're going to be next week. So if you're considering joining us in Austin, October 17th and 18th, get your tickets now or get them next week for a bit more money, which, you know, we will use to the best of our ability on the conference and on the content. So, yeah. All right. Daniel, do you want to give some substance to close out the show? And then I will give a news update.
Nothing from me.
Well, I'll repeat. Okay, so there are continued attacks from Lebanon. An Israeli soldier died today, as well as an Israeli civilian in the north of Israel. Negative reporting that I don't know how accurate it is, but might be. Israel is struggling to deal with the threat from Lebanon, and I hope it will. I hope it will deal with it better than it has dealt with it, and hopefully the ground operation, hopefully will follow a clearing of the area from the air, so as to protect the soldiers. But yeah, Lebanon, as I keep saying, Lebanon needs to pay. Israel is doing what it's doing alone and should do it alone in Lebanon. So even if Trump does snatch endless wars from the jaws of world peace, as he appears to want to do in Iran, Israel should continue the fight in Lebanon. PC Marco and Richard should be back in a couple of weeks. They might be here in between, but yeah, they've had less time, but their time is going to free up in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, they'll become regulars. Of course, that also the more of our hosts are on regularly, the longer we can go with these streams. Something, by the way, that people can let us know in the last few minutes here in the chat and in the comments if you're watching after the fact and made it this far in, is what you think about these long live streams. And remember, we're doing them now like we're winging it, but we are trying to come up with ideas of how to do it in the long run. One of the ideas is to cut up some videos of it. So, if there's 4 or 5 hours a day, have to watch all of it, but maybe there is some specifically, particularly good parts that we can share separately with the world. And yeah, let us know what you think of that. That is, I think, the direction we're headed, but we will see. Yeah, Secret Bassring says the people of Lebanon are sick of Hezbollah. Yeah, I saw that as well. I saw, people in Christian villages saying, we let Shiites into our village in the past, and but they start war after war, so we're not going to let them in now. Yeah, there are people in Lebanon who really love Hezbollah and what they're doing, and there are also people in Lebanon who want to live, and they despise Hezbollah. And for those people, yeah, you need to stand up to this threat, because Israel is absolutely doing what's necessary for Israel to do, which is defend its citizens from the people who are using you as human shields. So fight back, get rid of Hezbollah, help Israel get rid of Hezbollah, and then yeah, live in actual peace and security long term. WUB doesn't like the live long streams.
Hey, is that what he said?
He said they're too long. Too long appears. Yeah, that sounds like yeah, not liking that.
Don't put evaluations into what other people say.
Too long does not mean I want them to be longer. Too long means yeah, doesn't like them. Bonnie says, I wish you could give earlier notice of the start time. Yeah, that is that will be a thing going forward. Not immediately. We're not going to be able to do that like for tomorrow. But yeah, we're a lot of it is like when you try to plan for a long day of streaming, you're kind of aware that once you go live, you are live, and anything else you were thinking of doing during the day, work wise or otherwise, just ain't gonna happen. So that's part of it. But yes, once we start finding our footing, they will be more organized, and yeah, we'll see what kind of segments we have, and we have segments that we've had during these. We have a few that we're planning. As I've said, Zoe and I will do a segment on the Manosphere documentary at some point. Maria and I are going to do maybe at some point later a segment on uh, how uh, how many in the culture are reacting to the Manosphere documentary. Because I've seen some of the reactions, and it's in many cases two sides of the same coin. We have a lot to say about that. So we have a lot to say about a lot of things other than the war. And yeah, yeah. Secret Bassring says long live streams are good for creating content, edited videos. Yeah, that's another thing that once we find our footing, we're gonna do.
Oh, we're gonna.
Well, Daniel is going to, unless people want to volunteer and help us out, and then we will have more videos that we can cut out of the longer live streams. All right. Bonnie says, I love the commitment to seeing the war through the longer live streams despite Trump. Yeah. And yeah, that was the idea to begin with, that we'll be on for as long as we can. It's still what we would like to do, even on days like today where it's shorter. But yeah, this will continue as a conversation. We're also going to have a members meeting, which we haven't had for a long time. That'll be open to members from members who are members through the website, as a Zoom call, and through for YouTube members as a YouTube members only live stream. And we're going to discuss some of that and some of the other things we're doing and planning to do. We will do that soonish, maybe towards the end of next week, maybe the following week. All right. Thanks, Daniel. Thank you to Alex, who joined us earlier. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks to all the super chatters. Yeah, tomorrow we do plan to go longer, and hopefully that plan will come to fruition. Until then, we will see you tomorrow and every day until the total victory. Good night.